Hello everybody and welcome to the Comb Racing League. We are here today for Tier 2's race at round 4, which is going to be a sprint race today. Alone in the commentary box for this one, Fandango or Bunny is not able to join me, and hopefully we'll be starting what will be a one-shot quali this week fairly soon, and then into the 25% race and then the 50% race. Still waiting on a couple of drivers. Been a bit of issues with whether or not it's going to be full-time drivers or reserves. Decided to get this up nice and early. And we'll see what is happening. In fact, I can do a quick run through of the standings. A reminder to everyone: REL Jet, Mr. P2, which is kind of becoming so far second all three first rounds of the season. He's leading the championship, 72 points. He's on Steiny, our last week's race winner, sitting in P2 a long way back. Liam only 2 points behind him. In fact, well, there's 24 points between Jet and Steiny for first and second. The second, third, fourth battle is just 48 down to 42 points. And as Spider up here supporting Aston Martin are currently leading the constructors, and by a pretty decent margin. Tier 2 is actually their weakest tier. DC and Captain Nick are representing them here, but they're on 276 across all 4 tiers, although that does not account for Monday's Tier 3 and 4 race. So they're 276 all the way down to 223, for both Alpine and Haas tied on points. For a joint second place there, 53 points behind the lead in green cars. So we'll see what DC and Captain Nick can do with their team. I believe the driver's given the ready up. Yes, they have. So one shot quali, sprint race, and then the feature race. We'll see how this all goes down. One shot quali, quite possibly my least favourite thing to commentate on, as it is not well shown. But France should be a good race. Plenty of track limits penalties. And the home race of our favourite driver on the grid, CRC II S8 in the McLaren there. We've even got a corner nicknamed after him, the II S8 Chicken Chicane, so looking forward to see how he does in the race. Here we go. One shot quali drivers choose their laps. Don't believe we have any qualifying bans in this tier. If we do, then that was served by just the drivers doing a 118 disqualifying themselves. So if anyone disqualifies before they even get to the first corner, that'll be why. And we'll probably hop on board with our championship leader Jet for the one shot quali. Gets a bit of a pain to see otherwise. Yeah, Julian reserving in the Williams, I believe, replacing is it Greek Bill for that one? Yeah, Greek Bill, and then Farrell, I think, is hoping to join at some point. Your Tier 4's only Aston Martin driver. You're doing a good job of carrying them, looking at the constructors. Tier 4 Aston Martin, currently 87 points from just 3 races. I can't say I've seen the Tier 4 stand-ins, but you'd ask doing something right, Rob. So drivers now choosing their setups. Now, can the drivers in game hear me? I can see a speaker thing there. Give me a second. I do not want to be speaking to the drivers while they're racing. I want to be concentrating. Go hop on board now with Jet. I think I can be heard in the game, which isn't particularly ideal. So no pressure, Jet, if you can hear me, my apologies. At the moment, middle of the pack for him, 10th place. Jasper currently out front on timing. Ford PR far behind DC, and a decent job. It's Jet doing a very good exit from that corner, moving up the order. P5 at the moment. Jasper still holding on top into the dual. Chicken Chicane goes. Jasper flying down the order, I suspect a spin for Red Bull driver, actually DeWill, the McLaren driver, very car back on his home circuit. To Mercedes carrying second and third on the one-shot quality order. DC still holding it out front as Jet, our championship leader, has now worked his way up to the front throughout the lap. Seems, well, not the best start. Consistency has got him up there. Don't believe any driver has yet been disqualified. Strong here for Jet. Not sure what the gaps will be down to the rest of the drivers. Here we go round in the final bend. Still Jet, then DC. Hobson, Strauss, third and fourth. Club Yars falling down the order a little bit. Seventh he was second, and there we go. Drivers coming across the line, and that is a tenth and a half lead for Jet. Yeah, that puts Jet on pole position for the sprint race. Tobe saying he's got no setup. That is not particularly ideal. A McLaren driver down in P14. You can see the top two, bit of a gap, just 10th and a half separating them. You go down Hobbsy, Strauss. What's that? 9,000 separating those two. A lot of drivers. Well, from Hobbsy down to McConey, so that's third down to P9. You are only looking at a 10th and a half for that many drivers. So very, very close. Top two though with the definite advantage over the rest of the field. So we'll see how they can do. Right, just now loading onto the race. And whilst it's gone, I'm going to try and see if I can turn off. I think I might be talking to the drivers, and I don't want to be. Push to talk. It says it's on. Right, let's try that. Hopefully the drivers can't hear me blabbing anymore. I don't know if they normally could, but I'm used to being in a party, so it's not normally an issue. I do apologise to the drivers if I was distracting you there. Let's move on to the feature race. Jet on pole for that one. DC just behind him. Formation lap now. Just 9 laps is this race. Let's see what tyres people are going with. Mostly mediums. 16 of the drivers are mediums. Just 3 Strauss, Liam and Freefall on mediums. And all of them the red cars as well. 2 Ferraris and Strauss in that AlphaTauri. So looking at where the top 4 championship wise are on this grid, of course Jet man is yet to finish anywhere other than P2. Will be leading this, Steiny the P2 in the championship. A long way back off the lead, of course he could leave this race in the championship, despite it's been early days, all the way down in P17 for the German driver in that Alpine car. Liam, right middle of the pack, he's opted for the soft, so we'll be hoping to move up early days in the race. So we'll see how that works for him. And then Tigriff, I think we were on board with the very start of the one-shot quali, P10, so right middle of the pack for that Haas driver. It'll be interesting to see which of that P2 championship battle does end up coming out on top after the race. Just 6 points separate from the 3, as I mentioned earlier. We've got Nolsey trying to fight his way up from the back, a driver who can at times show some very good speed. Last week finishing P12 is not the strongest result. Find as much as he can, whereas he championship wise 9th position, so not too far afield. Not completely out of the championship fight just yet. Still early days, first season. This time with 16 rounds. It's been 15 for the past few. It's always less than that in the earlier seasons. Actually, especially with Tier 2. Tier 2 wasn't started up until Season 2 of CRL. Here we are now, all the way on Season 8. The drivers pulling onto the grid slots, warming their tyres. We will have to keep an eye on Strauss. What can he do on those soft tyres? It's very important who is leading towards the start of the race. So hang on, Strauss has managed to get himself disqualified. Now that is interesting. Now for him a disadvantage, as has Japsa. All the drivers though are now lined up on the grid. Jet at the front, DC alongside him for the outside line, and away they go. Not a very long hold there. Good start from Julian on the inside in that Williams. P5 for him. Already up to P3 though is the driver. Have a look up to P2 for Jet. Passed loads of the field already. Strauss is up to P3. And DC and Hobbsy really struggling with the start there. The Aston Martin trying to get alongside the Alfa Romeo here. A soft advantage for Strauss. It's a bit of contact there, and DC has gone round a little bit. A lot of chaos here. Now there's an AlphaTauri all the way round. A good save there. And that car further down the order. Jasper and Cole Parlox believe a bit of collisions going on. The two leaders though might be about to change position. There's an amazing start there by Julian. The reserve called up really last minute. And it looks like he's already got himself up 4 positions from P5 into the lead. Just the start the Williams driver wanted. Quite literally could not have gone better for him. And a decent gap down to the rest of the field as well. A second and a half as Jet got over everybody else. We'll have to keep an eye then on that. A big battle going on here. Positions changing, can't really see exactly where the cars are, but are they side by side to the right hander? Yes they are. McConey having to back out. Hobbsy getting through, trying to recover a little bit after that poor start for him. Despite getting that position, he is down 4 places from where he started. His Club PR 4-star side by side through that long right hander 4-star inside line. Seems to have the advantage, not really able to get the cut back, and can't cut Club PR off from gaining any more ground here. Stabilise, one chaotic start for this French race. Very close actually among the guys further back. We'll have to have a look at this battle. So I believe that's Nolsey into the pit lane. Travis now settled down a little bit. A few big losses. Cole Paradox, the big one, down to P17. And Hobbs will recover. Currently 6 and 7, both down 4 positions from where they started. Good exit by Steiny, the P2 in the championship, last week's race winner, looking for a move on De Will on his Frenchman's home turf here. Seems De Will holding him off, not able to get him back. Bit of a poor exit there. It's going to help the Frenchman secure his position. Further behind, AlphaTauri going defensive against the Red Bull. Japsa up the inside into the right hander. He gets that position done. Back onto the tyres, because Liam made up a lot of places in his soft. But he started from miles back. How many places is he up thus far? Up 8 places as the Ferrari driver. Missed a lot of that. Jasper and De Will, sorry, and Captain Nick swapping positions here. It is just for P13, just the top 6 drivers given points in the sprint race. Jasper around the outside, and Nick compromised his line a little bit. The Alpine are looking to get a move, perhaps catching him too close, and actually not until the best exit because of it, letting Cole Paradox catch back up and get the move done on him. See the gap between 3rd and 4th is starting to come down. You can see just how much that is here. A long way for Strauss to go, and on these soft tyres, the longer the race goes, the less advantage he's going to have over the boys on the medium tyre. Down there giving a bit of support to Captain Nick. Captain Nick down in P14. Coney past Hobbsy to P7. And points for top 6. It's nearly up to them now. So these front two, Julian and Jet. Only 1 point difference between this, but of course is the difference whether or not you do start on pole position for the feature race. Seems not too much action, just sitting behind, perhaps holding off, perhaps learning where he's weak on the track. Of course, Julian start, potentially intimidate any driver, see how he manages it. Just keep an eye on that time gap for P3 battle. Liam on the tail of Strauss. Liam, a quick driver. You know he's quick, he's in the top 4 in the championship. He's just in P3 actually. To get Strauss, put himself in a good position for the feature race. It's actually the lead to Jet, not quite going for the move. Yes, so this week is the sprint race. So this is currently the sprint race we had one shot quality to set the grid order. We're now into the sprint race, and then are going to be going into the feature race, which is set by this. Points awarded to the top 6 based on the results of the sprint race, which is just 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for those points. It's the McLaren of De Will on the outside of Japsa. Looks like he has got through, and is that contact there between Captain Nick and Indian Jesus? Seems both of them huge loss of time. I'm not seeing any damage to front wings. Not completely the end of the world for them, but still not what they want to happen. Yellow flags brought out because of it. It's going to put them really on the back foot for the feature race. So here we go, Claire PR, Hobbsy. Seems Hobbsy really struggling this race. Qualified well, but just flown down the order. Trying to remember where Hobbsy did end up starting. Down 6 positions, would have started in P3, where his teammate currently is. Just getting swallowed up by the pack here. And worse for him, he's near the front of a train, so even more chance of losing further positions. Top battles still keeping their gaps nice and close, but not really much passing going on. Bit of action going on here further down the order. Of course, a lot of the drivers not really going to be looking for the points here, more so setting themselves up for the long run qualifying. Steiny going for a spin further down the order as the 2 Red Bulls fighting away. Captain Nick 3 seconds of track limits, time penalties for him. Well, I assume it's track limits given there's no cars to get the contact ones with. And hang on, I've managed to miss a lead change here. Jet up into the lead and a decent gap built as well, 7/10. Not yet DRS clear, but enough to give him a little bit of breathing room as a potential pass here for P2. Not happening in the end. Strauss still heavily under threat. Is that gap now up to his second for Jet? And it does make you wonder if he was saving his DRS to choose this moment to go. Indeed, Jesus retiring in the pit lane from the sprint race, deciding not worth it. 2 McLaren drivers swapping position. De Will past Tobes up into P12. Tobes actually now under threat from behind. The AlphaTauri looking for a bit of opportunity after Tobes, but a bit offline by De Will getting past him. What's seeming to happen in the end will hop on board as McConey and DC side by side. McConey through into P6. Now 1 point for that position. Give me a sec, I've just been informed the game volume is a little on the loud side, so I will very quickly turn that down a little bit. Hopefully now it's sounding a little better. Apologies for that. Affects anyone. Japsa up into P9 now. Only caught the tail end of that happening, but Hobbsy all the way down to P10. He lost another position somewhere. Really struggling with this. Steiny down in P16, 3 seconds of time penalties. This gives Nick something to look forward to. It's been a If Nick catches up, then he can fight for that P16 position, while it is just where he's going to be starting on the grid for the feature race. But positivity can help put you in the better mindset for the race itself. So the two leaders, even further gap between them still, and actually pulled away that gap now from P2 to P3 up to 3 seconds. So Jet looking very strong here, might perhaps even be on for his first win. Stuck in P2 the last 3 weeks. Well, that's very good across the championship. Every driver longs for the win eventually. So Tigrev has now closed down up to those two drivers on the soft tyres. 2.5 laps left to go. He might perhaps see him try and move up into that third position, given he has the advantage now of the tyres, the softs wearing off a little bit. They would have lost their edge. Keep an eye on this. 3 cars with red on them. Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Haas. Tigrev now really starting to close that gap, and he's going to be feeling the pressure from the Haas driver. So actually goes for a move into the last corner. Now that was very brave in the end, a bit of contact coming of it, but not enough to spin either driver around, which is good news for both of them. Not a massive amount of DRS on the Haas car, but of course no need to defend. He's got 2.4 seconds back to the next nearest car. He's got DRS and he's got 2 laps worth of that massive straight to try and get overtakes done here. Section very important. He needs the exit. As further down the order, actually Tigrev's teammate Nolsey, mistake there by him, I assume just a spin caused by the curb. So Tigrev seems actually a bit of a slow exit there, not gained a massive amount on Liam. These 3 closing down, half a second separating the 3 of them. They're still all maintaining their positions into that chicane. Yellow flag further down, that's a free fall. Now on softs that are going to be hurting. The same problem Strauss and Liam falling under, that they have a bit of buffer to further down. It's just Tigrev to have to worry about. Less than a lap and a half to go. Is Tigrev up the inside of the Ferrari driver? Going to force him to take compromise line, and you know what, he's through, he's passed up into P4 for Tigrev. And already looking at the Alfa Romeo for an opportunity for an overtake here. We'll see if he goes again for that last corner that he went for last time, or if he learns from what he did and decides not worth it, I'll set it up for the next straight. Bit of DRS there, and you know what, yeah, no, actually it hasn't worked massively for him. Compromised his exit a little bit, left himself with not too much space, and perhaps a threat from the Ferrari behind now. On the outside into the first chicane, he's made it work, swoops around the outside. Now going to leave the 2 soft runners to battle for that P4, and all this time further behind DC he's managed to massively close the gap down. That was 2.4 seconds a few laps ago, now down to just 6 tenths, and Strauss and Liam really going to be struggling on this last lap. Jet still leading the way here though, and already, yeah, you can see Tigrev built himself a 1 second gap down to these 2 drivers. See, just the last lap now, 9th out of 9. Can Liam defend off DC? Those mediums by far the strong tyres further down. Hobbsy, DeWill swapping positions. DC currently in the last point position. I think we might see an overtake attempt into the next right-hander, not this one but the one after, where the grip really matters. You need the tyres to be there for you in this corner. Perhaps cut off a little bit there by Liam. See what happens there. I think some very good defending there by the Ferrari driver, not too aggressive but made it work. A yellow flag there, and that is for Clerpiard. Flying down the order, there's no DC round. DC's car losing it there as Japsa has managed to get, oh you know what, Japsa and McConey, these soft runners really struggling now. You can see actually, you know, puncture on the front right there for Liam. Let's see if he loses any more positions down to P8, and what an end to the race across the line with a front right puncture. I believe it's just his front right tyre. my goodness, so nearly held on there. Was fighting for P3 at one point, and in the end all the way down to P9, even the AI not giving him any space there. But Jet getting the win of the sprint race. I know we didn't watch that battle too much once he started to pull away from Julian. There we go, the results. Jet, Julian, T-Griff, Strauss, Japs and McConey on those last few corners, the last sector in fact, getting that last point for the sprint race. I've been told I'm still got the aim volume too loud. Right, let's try this. And then I can do a quick run through the orders. So, of course, we had Jet will be starting in that pole position for the feature race. Julian alongside him. Then T-Griff and Strauss, the front runner on the softs. I think strategy somewhat worked for him, managed to pull away from the rest of the pack. But you saw what happened to Liam further down the order then. Japser and McConey, both of which passed almost back to back there in that last sector, P5 and P6. Ignore the point system here, we just do points to the top 6. The next row, 4-star, and Liam, the man who had a puncture, still brought it home in P8. You saw how deep he went into the last corner. DC and DeWill finishing out that top 10. Hobbsy and Cole Paradox 11th and 12th. Points for the top 12 during the full race, or the feature race I should say. Then we've got Tobes and Nolsey, Clerpiar, Steiny, Captain Nick, Freefall and Indian Jesus, who did end up retiring in the pit lane. I think I've only ever seen once someone put it in the wall here in around France, and it was around that swooping right-hander at the end of the big straight, and it was assisted by another car, or I can't remember if it was another car or the curb. Either way, very dramatic crash. I think the majority of the drivers is going to keep it out of the wall. Very unlikely to pull a Leclerc. But you never know till the race is there. 27 laps is the race. I can't claim to have a clue about the strategy. Here we go, looking a little bit cloudy. I did not see any drivers commenting on the rain. No mentions of rains, whether they're all crying so much inside they're not mentioning it. Oh, of course, we are going to have a forecast to be dry race. Just a bit of clouds to darken the view. I mean, what an end to the sprint race there. Liam very much caught off guard by his tyres, doing the best he could with them. Kept to the top 10. I think may have been better to start on the mediums, but of course you can say would have been better to do it. That's what you do when you're actually there. Here we go, formation lap for the feature race now. We will see what tyres everyone has gone on to. So as per usual with F122, the majority of the drivers starting on the hard tyre. We've got DeWill, Steiny and Indian Jesus starting on the mediums. Farrell now able to join us. His game finished updating, so we'll have a full grid of 20 for the race. As Clerpiar, don't know if that's contact with another car or what, but it's qualified from the formation lap. And so have cold tyres for the start of the race. Actually, Jet with that win for the feature race already extending his championship lead over Steiny by a further 6 points, puts him 30-point lead, which actually means he can't quite be guaranteed championship leader when he leaves the race, because he's 30 points ahead when there's 31 points available, and Steiny would win on countback because Steiny does have a win to work with, whereas Jet currently just has 3 P2s, which seems very unlikely. Mercedes driver, amazing consistency so far this season. And Julian as well will be interesting. Reserve driver, I think we saw him earlier on in the season. I will admit I cannot remember for which race, but I do remember a very strong performance from him. Let's see if I can find it. Actually no, okay, it was last week. Julian got P3. Did end up getting a podium, so my bad for getting that one. Was quite literally only last race. But yeah, Julian already showed he's fast, and shown it again here with this with the sprint race, where actually he was a last minute call up as well. Did not have a massive amount of warning. Here we go now, pulling on to the grid around the Mercedes of CRC. Actually the whole field nearly in a Williams sandwich. There's another driver going to be starting on cold tyres. Here we go, you can see the last of the Minden Jesus and Farrell pulling into their grid slots for the race to begin. And here we go, the lights are out and away they go. And see how Julian does with his start this time around. Very strong start last time, does not seem to have got a repeat of it. T-Griff, in fact, though, on the inside of the Williams driver, forcing him to go side by side. T-Griff cut off a little bit, not able to complete the move. There is a yellow flag out, that is for CRC and Captain Nick. Also Cole Paradox going around further down the order, battling still going on further up the pack. A bit of side by side here with the Aston Martin of DC and Strauss. Ferrari though, pulling it alongside now. Liam, the man who fought through a puncture last race. A little bit of a moment there for Strauss, did well to hold it, but that has put him a bit slower going on to the big straight, and that is huge contact further down. That is Tobes and another car. Who is that? Saw front wings flying, and that is not McLaren I put myself on board with. So Tobes, I assume the other one. Is it 4-star? Not sure, but either way, big contact there. We are definitely going to have some drivers pitting at the end of this lap. CRC ducked for the penalty for ignoring yellow flags. There's a chance that will be removed. Not see the circumstances under which it was given. There's Farrell. A bit weird, that almost seemed to give the place to Indian Jesus for free after backing out. This fight with Nolsey on the hardest tyres. The medium runners are going to be quicker than him. Trying to hold it around the outside here though, as the inside is going to have far less grip on the exit of the corner. A little bit of contact, which actually, to be fair, that little bump might have been enough to give him an extra bit of grip out of the corner. Though a bit of burning of ERS for the AlphaTauri driver, and that is him holding on to that P11 position. Further up the order, Japsa on the tail of T-Griff. Slower exit, not going to see a move here by the driver. DRS not enabled until next lap. Ooh, what has happened here to Farrell? This driver is flying past him. To Will, moving up the order again as we saw driver spin off into the wall. That was Indian Jesus going off into the wall, we saw briefly in the background. And to remain on board with this battle for the moment. The Alpine on the outside, Steiny trying to get a move done here. You can see on the right hand side, the move in the end. He's still trying to hold on, but I think Steiny is going to have to back out in the end, despite being on the mediums, despite having the better traction for the moment. Still unable to get the move, although not giving up just yet, still fighting for it, keeping that gap as low as possible. With DRS coming in next lap, more opportunities for an overtake. Right on the tail here now, using the ERS. Bit of slipstream as Julian in P2 setting that fastest lap. No, choosing to slot in behind, trying to get a better exit out of the first chicane. So here we go. We'll start to see a lot of position changes here. First time on the straight with DRS. A good exit for Steiny right on the tail of the Alfa Romeo, though the Alfa Romeo itself does have DRS, despite very briefly being outside of that 1 second. Strauss driving defensive, although deciding against it in the end. Is Steiny going to go for an absolute send? No, he's not, holding it back for the moment. Another chance Another section of the straight, but again, not the best exit to that corner. Not going to get the move done there. So we've got Hobbsy in the pit, and is that his second pit stop now? Perhaps just for a new front wing, not wanting a new tyre as well. Steiny's pulled a clever one here. Got himself through up the inside and given himself the inside line for the next long left-hander. I think that is Steiny finally past Strauss after a few laps of trying. It's Foul further down the order, going off into a spin. Lost me for this. Actually hop on board with the leaders to see how they are doing. Jack currently happily leading 8/10 down to Julian, the same two as in the sprint race. Well, Jasper not too far behind. I think didn't have the best qualifying, did the Red Bull driver. Showing now he does have pace. We've seen him win, I think, round 2. Oh, hang on, Steiny dropping multiple positions and dropping more still. Mistake right at the start of the main straight. Hopefully no accident. Here's the Red Bull coming close to it, but not quite. DC a bit far back to gain a massive advantage from him. Steiny going to have to be careful through the chicane on his hot tyres. Not great for the Alpine driver. Ferrari going wide, they're going to lose a little bit of traction and just have to worry about the Frenchman of De Will behind him. He's on the mediums. So far the drivers who started on the mediums not having the best race. Both Steiny and Indian Jesus have struggled a little bit on them. So Liam now right on the tail of McConey. McConey not going to have the advantage of DRS from ahead. It's Steiny picking up 3 seconds of track limit penalties. But Liam also has to just worry about the McLaren sitting just behind him. The ever-threatening De Will. There we go, Liam with his overspeed pulling to the inside now. Looks like the Ferrari driver might get this done very easily. Alpine considers trying to get back into the corner, not going to happen in the end. Further back down we had Strauss overtaken by Nolsey. As the driver was through up into P8. Just 5 laps of the race down so far. Now importantly, ERS wise to Will, I think that was 45% more than McConey. So saving it for when it matters. And that is a yellow, and that is again I think for Indian Jesus. Another mistake. Not having a good race here on those mediums. I don't think it's the tyre. Perhaps one mistake, you're pushing too hard. So we'll see here if these two trade positions yet again. We'll also actually have to keep an eye on that gap between the two leaders, how Jet does compared to Julian. And also Japsa not too far behind two of them. Jet a very strong gap though coming onto the main straight. I think enough for him to be happy with his defence. Liam really riding the curb there. Should have settled the car but made it work. Coney a bit weak through the chicane, although we're changing positions here. Just caught the tail end of it. The Red Bull up into P2. Very nicely done overtake here. We're going to have to watch out from behind. Julian going to be wanting to try and get that back he still can fight it while they're still close on track. Let's do a quick DRS check. 5% more for Japsa, who's got an almost identical amount to Jet here. The front three runners very, very similar on ARS. Of course, tyre wear is going to be a similar story. There we go, Japsa setting the fastest lap. The other two would have seen that. Jet now perhaps worried. He can keep Julian behind. He doesn't necessarily know the same to be true for the Red Bull. Just further down, co-pilots and a freefall having a little bit of a fight, which seems to have come to an end. So we'll hop back on board with the leaders. Actually, Julian falling back again a little bit. It seems very, very fast at times, but just seems to lose pace at other times as well. One mistake and he's lost the DRS, and that's going to drop him back further still. That is a yellow, and that is for Indian Jesus again. We won't have a look at that one. What we will look at though is Japsa on the tail, then a 10th, and you know what, he's got a tyre at the inside. Is that enough? It's very adventurous and highly likely to lead for a spin. Jet, if he does go for it, in the end backs out of it, plays the long game. Barely even a quarter of the race done so far. So it seems Julian settled into a gap of 1.8 behind these two front drivers. Oh, now that is interesting. Patsa Japsa picking up 3 second time penalties for track limits. Of course, being France, we expect it, but one of the lead runners is going to put a dent in their plans for victory. Mistake there by Jet, and I think that is going to be capitalised upon. Yep, losing a lot of time there, dropping down into P2 as Japsa takes the lead. Started P3, I think he started P3, wiggled his way up. No, started P5. Missed that one then. But either way, a very good start for the Red Bull driver. Here we go. McLaren Mercedes. PR seems getting the job done on freefall. Fighting for that last points position, P12. Again, Jet closing the gap down to Japsa. See what his exit is like. Not the strongest there, although did have a little bit more speed coming up the corner in the end, and of course DRS to work with. We'll see both of them saving their ERS. That gap massively coming down here. That was Japsa running deep, or Jet overestimating how much extra speed he had, braking earlier than he needed to. Lost a little bit of ground there. Chance he can go from move into the very long right-hander. Does not seem too likely though. And a Red Bull Mercedes battle up front. Why does this seem familiar? So I believe De Will is the only French driver on the grid. I will quickly have a check at that. De Will certainly the only full-time French driver. Cannot speak about the reserves as I'm not too sure. De Will the only driver then, presumably on home turf. As you can see a shot of his helmet there, the French flag on the top, the colour of the baguette on the rest of his helmet. His foul picking up 3 seconds of time penalties. Drivers now somewhat settling into their trains. Julian keeping that gap fairly even down to Jet. But Jet not able to close the gap down, has not reclaimed the lead after his mistake a lap or two ago. Some big gaps up front. Liam at the front of this train, the first real train we can see. I think that is just drivers sliding into the pits on those mediums. Presumably that is then a sign that we'll also see De Will pitting fairly soon on his mediums, though she still seems to be doing a decent job of keeping up with the drivers on the hards. I reckon we'll end up seeing him take it to lap 12 or 13, but of course he knows the track much better than I can, just sitting here and watching. I know the better decision to make. The Alpine there running deep. And actually, given that gap does seem to keep closing down, I would say too early to pit yet for the McLaren. We'll see. No, he's coming into the pits, perhaps almost going a little deep there. Into the pit lane for McLaren. De Will, no risk of a double stack for him. So he's already pitted once and a long way behind. So De Will, where is he going to come out on track? It seems P16 the likely place. We'll have to compare him to when the hard runners start to pit, although if they only want to take their mediums 11 laps, that's a yellow flag for toes further down the order. Is that into the wall? I think it is. I see a McLaren front wing back there and a Tobes without one. Yeah, I think we will not see the hard runners pit till probably not until lap 15 or 16, so a few more laps till that starts to happen. Of course, Tobes will be pitting next lap, and at this point actually probably perfect place to go onto the hards and just run them till the end. Jet still keeping a healthy distance close to the Red Bull, a little bit more ERS to work. Strauss and Cole Paradox. They are next to each other, just with a healthy, nearly 6-second gap between the two of them. I think Cole Paradox can nearly see the Alfa Romeo ahead of him at times. Just only 3 seconds time penalty, though further down the order. Less of an effect towards the victories. Steiny is one of the early days championship contenders, though. In fact, he's P2. Oh, hang on, my game's crashed.